Since Hulk's death, many people, including his own daughter, have called it suspicious.
And he said something to me that really took me aback. And he said, if I broke up with her, it'd be bad. And I said, what do you mean by that? It would be bad. And he goes, I don't want to get into it, you know?
Now the FBI has uncovered shocking evidence inside Hogan's mansion. We are talking hidden safes, secret recordings, and connections to powerful figures that suggest his death is not what we were told. Let's break it down. The death that started everything. They said Hulk Hogan's legacy would be untouchable, that his star power, his charisma, his larger-than-life persona would outlive him. But when the FBI stormed his Florida mansion in the days after his death, they didn't just find trophies, championship belts, or memorabilia from a decades-long career in the ring. What they uncovered was darker, stranger, and in many ways, far more explosive than any storyline the WWE could have ever scripted. This wasn't just about Hogan's personal demons. No, what the FBI hauled out of that sprawling estate was evidence, real, physical evidence that pointed to secrets he had spent decades trying to bury. Records, hidden safes, items carefully tucked away in places only Hogan himself thought he'd ever access again. And some of those discoveries, they have the power to rewrite everything we thought we knew about wrestling's most recognizable icon. Fans wanted nostalgia. They wanted the red and yellow Hulkster ripping his shirt and flexing for the cameras one last time. Instead, what they got were government agents pushing boxes and crates of confiscated items onto trucks under the cover of night. Each container stamped with the FBI seal, each one fueling the fire of speculation online. What could possibly be inside? Why would federal investigators, men and women trained to hunt down organized crime syndicates, terrorists, and political corruption, be crawling through Hulk Hogan's personal residence like it was a crime scene? Hulk Hogan passed away on July 24, 2025, at the age of 71 in his home in Clearwater, Florida. The official reports painted a picture of natural causes, a cardiac arrest during physical therapy that proved fatal despite emergency intervention. He was transported to Morton Plant Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 11:17 a.m. The official cause of death was acute myocardial infarction, heart attack, exacerbated by a history of atrial fibrillation, irregular heartbeat, and chronic lymphocytic leukemia, a form of blood cancer. But for those closest to the wrestling legend, something didn't add up. The man who had survived countless injuries, multiple surgeries, and decades of physical punishment in the ring had seemingly succumbed overnight to conditions that many questioned. The circumstances surrounding his death would soon become the center of a family civil war that would expose decades of buried resentments and shocking allegations. The Hogan family had been fractured for years before Terry's death. His daughter Brooke, a former reality TV star and musician, had been estranged from her father for over 2 years following his marriage to Sky Daly in 2023. Brooke had previously asked to be removed from her father's will in 2023, citing distrust of people in his inner circle and a desire to avoid future financial or legal battles. The root of this estrangement ran deeper than simple family drama. Brooke had grown increasingly concerned about her father's health decisions and the people surrounding him in his final years. She had warned him about Sky Daly's alleged connections to Scientology, expressing fears about the organization's influence over her father's life and estate.
I actually called Mike Rinder and talked to him.
Really?
And he didn't have very savory things to say. So I kind of told my dad, I said, listen, this is what I have. I had a friend that was ex-FBI. Look into the situation.
But it wasn't just family dynamics that made Hogan's death controversial. The circumstances themselves raised red flags for those who knew him best. Hogan had undergone multiple surgeries in recent years, including a 4-level anterior cervical discectomy and fusion in May 2025, during which his phrenic nerve, which controls diaphragm function, was reportedly severed, contributing to a rapid health decline. The revelation of his compromised phrenic nerve would become a crucial piece of the puzzle. This nerve controls the diaphragm's function, and its damage could severely impact breathing. The occupational therapist present at Hogan's home told police this may have contributed to Hogan stopping breathing. What made the situation even more suspicious to his family was the revelation of Hogan's leukemia diagnosis.
They're saying, oh, he had leukemia, and I'm like, I saw his blood work every time. One doctor, I quote, said, his blood is like a 25-year-old. I mean, he took the most care of his body. And
Brooke's confusion about her father's leukemia diagnosis would become a central theme in her quest for answers. She couldn't reconcile the idea that someone with such supposedly pristine blood work could suddenly have blood cancer.
We don't have cancer that runs in our family, It seems weird.
The speed at which decisions were made after Hogan's death also raised eyebrows. Initial reports suggested the body was prepared for cremation quickly, which raised red flags for Brooke. The lack of an immediate autopsy, given Hogan's high-profile status and complex medical history, seemed unusual to those questioning the circumstances. But perhaps most disturbing were the phone calls that began coming in shortly after Hogan's death. Brooke revealed that she had received multiple unsolicited calls from professionals involved in the events of July 24th, including police officials, nurses, and possibly medical staff who were present at Hogan's home or the hospital. These individuals urged her to obtain and review body camera footage from responding officers and the 911 call made by Sky Daily.
My heart is racing out of my chest right now, and I'm feeling a plethora of emotions. So I'm going to try to get through this as professionally as I can.
The professionals who contacted Brooke believed the materials contained information that could potentially shed enough light to change the narrative surrounding her father's death. They emphasized that these contacts were risking their careers to push her toward answers, describing their persistence as compelling evidence that something was amiss. The reality was far more complex and disturbing. What was actually happening was a daughter's desperate search for truth about her father's death, complicated by years of family estrangement, questionable medical decisions, and the very real possibility that medical malpractice had contributed to the death of one of America's most beloved entertainers. The Clearwater Police Department launched a deeper probe in response to Brooke's claims, interviewing witnesses and obtaining medical records. A spokesperson noted the unique nature of the case and the ongoing investigation into multiple aspects of Hogan's final days, but the most shocking revelations were yet to come. As Brooke began her own investigation into her father's death, she would uncover a web of family secrets, medical mysteries, and potential cover-ups that would challenge everything she thought she knew about the man who had been both America's hero and her complicated father. The truth about what really happened in those final hours would prove more devastating than any conspiracy theory, revealing not just the circumstances of Hogan's death, but the price of fame, the cost of family estrangement, and the devastating consequences when medical care goes wrong for someone whose every moment was lived in the spotlight. A daughter's investigation and explosive family secrets. What happened next would tear apart whatever remained of the Hogan family's carefully constructed public image. Brooke Hogan's transformation from grieving daughter to amateur detective would expose decades of family dysfunction, medical malpractice allegations, and the shocking truth about the phone calls that changed everything. The weight of the anonymous tips became too much for Brooke to ignore. Professional after professional was calling her, insisting she needed to see the evidence from that fateful July morning.
I have been trying to live quietly and peacefully. And the only reason my face is on TV right now is because I have had to constantly battle false claims. I can love my dad, which is the absolute God's honest truth. I love my father.
The investigation that Brooke launched would reveal layers of family trauma that went far beyond her father's death. Her relationship with Hogan had been complicated for years, marked by his controversial statements and her feeling that she had constantly defended him without getting the full truth.
Even if I haven't gotten the whole truth, even if I have been a little bit misled, I have still had his back. Through that whole sex tape drama, everybody focused on Hulk said the N-word and you know, this whole thing, and we're fighting for this amendment and, you know, privacy and, you know, big hero movement. But I never got a direct apology for that.
The tape scandal had left deep wounds. When Hogan's racist comments were revealed in leaked recordings, Brooke had defended her father publicly without knowing the full extent of what he had said about her personal relationships. The betrayal she felt was profound and lasting, but it was her father's relationship with Sky Daily that had created the final rift. Brooke had done extensive research into Daly's background, particularly her alleged connections to Scientology.
She's still in good standings, you know, and when I brought that up to my dad, he goes, oh, well, she just doesn't want to, you know, leave because she still wants her kids to be able to see the grandparents.
The warning signs had been there, according to Brooke.
He said something to me that really took me aback. And he said, if I broke up with her, it'd be bad. And I said, what do you mean by that? It would be bad. And he goes, I don't want to get into it, you know.
This cryptic warning from her father had haunted Brooke, especially in light of his sudden marriage to Daly just weeks after expressing doubts about the relationship.
He called me and there was a very weird, cryptic, like, strange message. It reminded me of, like, when people in AA do their squats. And he said, hey, I just wanted to call and say I'm sorry for whatever I did.
When Brooke finally gained access to the evidence she had been urged to review, what she found was both heartbreaking and revelatory. She contacted the Clearwater Police Department and accepted an invitation to review evidence privately around August 25th, 2025, nearly 5 weeks after Hogan's death. The police body camera footage showed the scene at Hogan's home, including interactions with first responders, the occupational therapist present, and Sky Daly. But it was the 911 call recording that proved most devastating for Brooke. Made by Sky Daly when Hogan stopped breathing, the call captured her panic and attempts to revive him, which Brooke described as the most traumatizing thing she had experienced. The call revealed something Brooke hadn't expected: genuine love and panic in Sky's voice. This audio evidence fundamentally changed Brooke's perspective on her stepmother and the circumstances of her father's death. But the family secrets that emerged during this investigation went far beyond the circumstances of Hogan's death. In a shocking revelation during a radio interview, longtime family friend Bubba the Love Sponge exposed a devastating truth about Brooke's music career.
Do you know that your dad is the one that wrote that letter?
What?
That didn't come from Sobe. That came from your father. Because he was trying to blow up your Sobe deal because he wanted to sign Paul White to a boxing contract.
This revelation shattered another piece of Brooke's relationship with her father. The Christmas morning when she received what she thought was a devastating breakup letter from her record label had actually been orchestrated by her own father, who was trying to manipulate her career for his own business interests.
I was really upset. I mean, I was crying. I was like, and my dad and Cecil used to be boys. Like, they used to be friends. And I was like, Daddy, you can't be friends with them anymore. I can't believe they would do this.
The scope of Hogan's manipulation of his daughter's life was staggering. Bubba revealed that Cecil got soaked for $9 million in total, $3 million each, for various deals involving Hogan, while Brooke unknowingly walked investors in the door to deals that ultimately benefited her father at their expense. But perhaps most shocking was the revelation about the infamous sex tape that had defined much of Hogan's later career controversies.
I was down in my dad's gym with him back when they set up the sting operation at the Sand Pearl. And him and David Houston got wired up because somebody was going to try to extort them for the tape. And my dad told me that he knew it wasn't you that leaked the tape.
This revelation completely exonerated Bubba, who had been blamed for years for the tape's release. The truth was that one of Bubba's employees had stolen the tape and tried to extort Hogan for money, leading to an FBI sting operation.
And he said that somebody's, one of your employees had it and that they took it from you, and he knew it wasn't you.
The medical mysteries surrounding Hogan's death became clearer as more information emerged.
And he even asked me, tell them no opioids, because it would slow his breathing down and he wouldn't have oxygen.
Brooke had been meticulous about her father's medical care, maintaining detailed notes about his surgeries and medications. The fact that he had specifically requested no opioids due to their breathing complications made his death even more suspicious to her initially.
I caught nurses trying to take pictures with him as he was coming out of anesthesiology, or out of anesthesia. I mean, it's like me and Jennifer literally had to be guards.
The level of care and protection that Brooke and Hogan's second wife Jennifer had provided during his previous medical crises highlighted how vulnerable he had become in his final years, surrounded by people who may not have had his best interests at heart. The investigation also revealed the depth of family manipulation that had characterized the Hogan household for years.
And what my dad doesn't know is no matter what he ever did, I would forgive him for and I would love him.
Despite everything, the betrayals, the manipulation, the years of feeling like she had to defend someone who hadn't been honest with her, Brooke's love for her father remained unshakable. But that love came at a tremendous personal cost, one that would be measured not just in emotional trauma, but in the very real consequences of a family torn apart by secrets, lies, and the price of fame. The multi-million-dollar estate battle and hidden wrestling industry secrets. While the world mourned the loss of a wrestling icon, behind closed doors, a vicious battle was brewing over Hulk Hogan's massive estate, one that would expose the dark underbelly of professional wrestling's financial empire and reveal shocking secrets about how the industry really operates. The numbers alone were staggering. Initial estimates pegged Hogan's net worth at around $25 million, but court documents filed in Florida revealed a probate estate valued at approximately $5 million. This massive discrepancy raised immediate questions about where the rest of Hogan's Hogan's fortune had gone and who controlled it. The estate breakdown revealed the complex financial web that Hogan had built around his celebrity brand. Key assets listed in the will include $200,000 in cryptocurrency, $799,000 in personal property and intellectual property, rights of publicity valued at $4 million, and an undetermined value from a potential medical malpractice lawsuit. But the real estate holdings told a different story. 2 properties in Clearwater estimated at $11 million combined, including an $8 million waterfront mansion. What made this estate battle particularly explosive was the family dynamics at play. Hogan's son Nick was named as the sole beneficiary of the estate, while his widow Sky Daly was listed as the surviving spouse, but not as a direct beneficiary in the probate filings. Under Florida law, however, she could claim up to 30% of the estate as a spousal elective share, setting up a potential legal showdown. But it was the revelation about Brooks' exclusion that truly shocked the public.
The biggest reason, though, why I asked to be off of the will was because I know my family, and I know if Sky, who, from what I know, allegedly is still in good standings with Scientology, after my dad passes, and she still has her Scientologist family and Scientology backing, I don't want to fight that.
This wasn't just about money. It was about power, control, and the very real fear of what organized groups might do to protect their interests.
And I see how they fight over money and how they turn on each other over money. And I said, if and when my dad dies, this is going to be, pardon my French, a show. And I want no part of it because I have already had to witness my dad go through 15 years of legal battles, depositions. Our whole life has been lawsuits.
The wrestling industry's dark financial secrets began emerging through the estate proceedings. Nick's lawsuit against radio personality, Bubba the Love Sponge, over attempts to release Hogan's sex tape and produce a related documentary revealed the ongoing value of Hogan's most controversial moments. The sex tape, which had already generated a $31 million settlement from Gawker, continued to be a source of both legal battles and potential revenue. But the estate battle revealed something even more disturbing about the wrestling industry's treatment of its biggest stars. Hogan's career had been marked by a pattern of exploitation that extended far beyond his own family. His feuds with wrestling legends like Andre the Giant, Randy Savage, and Roddy Piper had generated hundreds of millions in revenue, yet much of that wealth had been controlled by promoters and corporate entities rather than the performers themselves. The revelation of Hogan's manipulation of his daughter's music career provided a window into how the entertainment industry operates behind the scenes.
Yeah, but that was my point for the distance, though, was that every time I would try to come in and be the word of advice or the clear thinker or...
Brooks' role as her father's mirror, reflecting back his mistakes and poor decisions, had made her a target for exclusion from those who benefited from Hogan's increasingly erratic behavior.
You reminded him of Linda, you reminded him of his mistakes, you reminded your secrets he was keeping from you, whatever.
The estate proceedings also exposed the systematic way that celebrity finances are managed and controlled. Sky Daly has been accused by some family members of locking down the estate, though she has denied misleading narratives and urged patience amid media speculation. The wrestling industry's treatment of its legends became a central theme as more details emerged. Hogan's career earnings, estimated in the hundreds of millions over 4 decades, had been systematically diverted through corporate structures, licensing deals, and management agreements that left him with far less than his cultural impact would suggest he deserved.
Everybody is there egging him on because you guys are getting paid. And I said, nobody said, Dad, sit down. You don't need to be doing this. Everybody's egging him on. Everybody's pumping his ego. And I said, it's killing him.
This pattern of exploitation extended beyond Hogan to the entire wrestling industry. The people surrounding aging stars often had financial incentives to keep them working, performing, and making appearances regardless of their physical or mental condition. Brooks' frustration with the enablers around her father reflected a broader problem in celebrity culture, where those who should protect become those who exploit. The inheritance battle also revealed the complex relationship between Hogan's various personas and revenue streams. The Hulk Hogan brand continued to generate income through licensing, merchandising, and media appearances, even as Terry Bollea's health declined. This separation between the man and the character created legal and financial complexities that would outlive the performer himself.
And he goes, nope, that's not me. I don't do weddings. I don't do funerals anymore. You can't get me to leave the beach thing. I guess it just Maybe he was just so jaded from marriage.
Even in his personal relationships, Hogan had become disconnected from normal family obligations. His refusal to walk his daughter down the aisle represented more than just wedding drama. It symbolized how celebrity can isolate someone from the most basic human connections. The revelation of Hogan's 3 marriages and their financial implications painted a picture of someone whose personal relationships had become business transactions. His divorce from Linda Claridge in 2009 had left him financially strained, receiving only 30% of their assets, while Linda got 70%. His second marriage to Jennifer McDaniel lasted 11 years, but ended amicably with an undisclosed lump sum payment. The estate battle ultimately revealed the true cost of fame in the modern entertainment industry. While Hogan had achieved global recognition and cultural impact that few could match, the financial and personal structures built around that fame had gradually separated him from genuine human connections and left him vulnerable to exploitation by those who claimed to protect his interests.
And I said, it's killing him.
Let me ask you a question. Is it true that you asked him to walk you down the aisle and he wouldn't?
Yes.
The final tragedy wasn't the estate battle itself, but what it represented: a family destroyed by the very success that had made them famous, and an industry that had learned to profit from both the rise and fall of its biggest stars. As the legal proceedings continue, they serve as a stark reminder of the price of celebrity and the human cost of treating people as brands rather than family members. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.